Hello, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of Spill the D. My name is Gina. I'm your host, and I'm joined here with my holly jolly co-host, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's Christmas.
It is Christmas. If you can't tell by your hat, which is like flipped to the front right now.
Well, yeah. Where else am I going to put it
It's-
back here? Then you won't be able to see the ball.
I think it needs to go like to the side.
But then that covers the ear.
You still got another ear. Rick's got the Santa hat, Mickey Santa hat on right now for anyone who's not watching on the 407 and Beyond YouTube page. Merry Christmas, everybody. If you're listening when this comes out, it is only a day after Christmas, so we hope you had a great Christmas. If you're celebrating Hanukkah or any other holidays, we hope you had a great holiday and have a great holiday season. And then, I'm going to say it now, but I mean, there's going to be an episode next week. Happy New Year, obviously. Are you ready for this episode?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. We
Yeah.
talk about it all the time. It's a topic that comes up frequently when you talk to anybody about staying on Disney property. So it's gonna be fun to kind of air it out and go through some of our opinions and some of our listeners' opinions and see where we stand at the end.
Yeah, we have a full list for you guys of why we stay on Disney property. These are our personal opinions. Some of it is backed by fact. Actually, almost all of it, we do have facts to back it up. But the facts could also steer you in the other direction of like, okay, well, maybe don't stay on property if that's the case. So if you're trying to decide, hopefully this episode can help you decide by hearing our opinions on it of why we prefer to stay on Walt Disney World property when we go visit Walt Disney World.
Yeah, and we did reach out to you guys to send us in some of your opinions on whether you like to stay on property or not. So we'll be going through some of those as well.
And everyone said almost the exact same reason for why they stay on property, which is really funny. It was all of these answers, and we're sitting there and I'm reading them to Rick, and it took us about 3 before we realized it was the same thing worded differently, and that was all of them. So I'm excited to share that with you guys.
Yeah.
Before we get started, we normally would have some Disney news here. With it being Christmas, we are pre-recording this episode, so no Disney news this week. If you want to go find the Disney news when the episode comes out, go check out 407 and Beyond Vacation Co. We're their official podcast. We are the official podcast of 407 and Beyond. They're a Disney and Universal Orlando travel agency that books and plans family vacations to destinations such as Walt Disney World, Universal Orlando, Disney Cruise Line, and so much more. It doesn't cost any extra to book with them. Their services are 100% free, and their travel agents do everything. So all you have to do is show up, have fun, and create those family memories.
Maybe you want to go at Christmas time next year. I don't know why you would want to do that, but if you do, come and get a book now.
Christmas time is fine. It's Christmas Day to New Year's.
That's what I meant, like Christmas.
Yeah. That, I don't know why you'd want to do that. I will die on the hill that I am not going to Disney between Christmas and New Year's.
And if you haven't seen the insanity that is Disney right now, go ahead over to Disney Food Blog. They have a few pictures that they posted the other day where it's a mess. There's so many people, shoulder to shoulder. Don't recommend going from now until the New Year's.
I get the appeal of like you want to be there at Christmas time for that magical time, but like you can also do that a few weeks earlier. This is the most expensive time of the year and the most crowded. So to me, it's just not where I'd want to be on Christmas. And I said it before on the podcast.
Yeah.
There's on any given day, there's nowhere else I'd rather be except Walt Disney World. Except from like December 20th, 21st until like January 3rd.
Yeah.
Then I'm good. All right, so why we stay on property when we are visiting Walt Disney World. Here's our full list for you. If you're new to the Disney scene and don't fully understand, on property means the hotel that is physically on Disney property. Disney property is huge, absolutely ginormous. They have over 30 hotels just on their property you can stay on, and from those hotels there are perks, and these hotels are run by Disney, so you get perks from Disney. They can be a little bit more expensive, but they are Disney run, Disney themed, all around Disney-esque hotels compared to maybe Good Neighbor hotels, which are going to be a little bit farther outside of the Disney bubble. They will still be on they'll still sometimes have some perks, but not all the perks, so you have to keep that in mind. And then going even farther out of the Disney bubble, where it's no longer Good Neighbor, they're just the local Marriott, or maybe they are an Airbnb, like that is completely staying off Disney property. So what we are talking about today is staying at a Disney-owned, Disney-run hotel.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to kind of lead into the most obvious one, I think, that comes to everybody's mind first. Like Gina said, there's so many hotels. The property itself is absolutely massive. And one of the biggest perks to staying on property is that you have access to various forms of transportation that take you around property that are included with your stay. Mostly the buses. They'll take you everywhere. They also have the Skyliner, the boats, and
The
there's
monorail.
the monorail. So there's a whole bunch of different forms of transportation that'll take you all throughout the park, all throughout property, I should say. And those are all included in your stay.
Yeah, and walking. Some of these
Yeah.
hotels are in walking distance from the parks,
Mm-hmm.
which is huge. If you're just, especially if you have a stroller,
Yeah.
you leave your room pushing a stroller and just walk right up to the gate. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
Not
super
having to break
convenient,
down a
super
stroller
easy.
to get on a bus, like that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a huge perk. You don't have to find your way around Disney property. One spot where, and I'll probably bring this up a few times, that I think the transportation that Disney offers will win in my brain every single time to renting a car or Ubering or using a Lyft or anything like that. If you're going for a run weekend, we have stayed off property for a run weekend. We have stayed on property for a run weekend. The convenience of staying on property for a run weekend was insane. These buses know the routes that they need to take to go around the runs.
Yeah.
And to go get you to the starting line or get you to the finish line if you're a spectator going to see it. Where if you're trying to take an Uber and get through, these Uber drivers don't know. Like they might, but they also might not have access to these back roads that these buses are able to access to cut off so much time from your ride. So keep that in mind. If you're going for a run weekend, I cannot emphasize enough. The transportation offered by Disney makes it so much easier.
Yeah, and the other thing that it will cost you a little bit extra money, but it is something that you can get through Disney is the minivan. So if you're someone who doesn't like big crowds, if you have kids that you don't want to have to take on and off a bus, on and off the Skyliner or whatever.
Maybe you have a last minute reservation and you're running late to it. Or not, maybe not last minute, but like you have a reservation that you're running late to. That's also a good time to use a minivan.
Yeah, so you can get a minivan, which is through Lyft, I believe, right?
Yes.
So you would order it through the Lyft app, and they have car seats. They have the availability to go places that regular Ubers and stuff can't go. They can drop you off right at the gate, right?
Yeah.
So that's another option. Like I said, not free, not included, but you do have to be on Disney property to get the minivan.
And a very good point that you just made about them dropping you right at the gate. So some of your good neighbor hotels might say that they have a Disney shuttle, which is probably accurate. They probably do have a Disney shuttle. But a lot of times the Disney shuttles take you to the Ticket and Transportation Center, which is the parking lot of Magic Kingdom. There's a whole bus area there where all of these buses drop off. It's also going to be where your Uber or your Lyft drops you off. It's not going to be right at the gate of Magic Kingdom, which is where Disney's buses will take you. So it's going to be at this area farther away, and then you'll have to take either the monorail or the boat to get to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
A lot of them, though, will drop you off there no matter what park you're going to. So you might get dropped off there, and then you have to hop on the monorail for Magic Kingdom or Epcot, or hop on a bus to Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom. And in addition to that, a lot of them, they'll drop you off there at a specified time. So they're going to maybe have a bus that leaves their hotel at 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. and they pick up 8 p.m., 10 p.m. So if you were maybe trying to stay until 11 or 12 till the close of the park, now you have to Uber.
Yeah.
Or if you were trying to get there for a rope drop, which would be 7:30 if you're going to Animal Kingdom, now you have to Uber. So those are factors you need to keep in mind when you're doing your research and you see, oh, but this good neighbor has transportation. But will that transportation be worth the extra moving around you'll have to do? Do they charge for it? Sometimes they do charge a fee for it. And will it get me where I need to go?
When you need to get
when
there.
you need to get there, or will I be paying for an Uber or a Lyft in the end? Because if you miss that bus on the way back, also, now you're paying for an Uber anyway.
Yeah.
So things to keep in mind when you're looking at your good neighbor and you see that they do offer transportation. It might not be exactly where you wanted to. Also, I did not mention at the beginning, but I want to. We're talking about the Disney-owned hotels right now. Swan, Dolphin, and Swan Reserve are owned by Marriott. They are right on Disney property, literally walking distance from the Boardwalk and Yacht and Beach Club. And they fall more into the Disney category on the perks that they offer. Yeah. So if you have questions about them specifically, just reach out to us. You can find us on social media, at Stability Podcast on Instagram, Stability Pod on TikTok. You can email us or ask a 407 and Beyond agent. But most of what we're saying, they're going to fall into that category. Same thing with Shades of Green, which is the military resort. They'll fall into the owned by Disney, even though they're technically not. Yeah. And transportation was actually one of the number one answers sent in by listeners as to why they stay on property.
Yeah. It is. It's super convenient. It's hard to argue it, especially like you said. If you are rope dropping, if you are trying to stay till park close, the Disney buses do start before the park opens to be able to take you over to the park, and they will go for a little bit after the parks close as well. So you would be able to stay open to close, or even if you go later in the day and you want to be able to stay till close, you have that convenience and availability because there's so many buses that are continually going.
Yeah, one listener actually said the Disney transportation is 1000% worth the extra cost.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases, you can find Disney hotels and Disney deals that will make it not that much more expensive than a Good Neighbor or another hotel. And the convenience of having the bus and having all of the other transportation options that we talked about, I agree, is 1000% worth it every time.
Beautiful lead in, because one of my number one reasons I like to stay on property, and I tell people this all the time when they are looking at Walt Disney World and trying to decide what they're going to do, it can actually be cheaper than that off-property hotel that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Depending on the hotel. Obviously, the Grand Floridian is not going to be cheaper than the Fairfield Inn and Suites. But maybe All-Star Sports might be. That could end up being a little bit cheaper than the Fairfield or the Spring Hill, or you know what I mean? Like one of those Good Neighbor hotels that's right there. Physically, when you are looking at the numbers online, it could be cheaper. Or maybe the All-Stars or Pop Century, one of those value resorts owned by Disney, is just a little bit more expensive. But when you factor in the transportation costs that you're not going to have to worry about, when you factor in having to pay for Mears Connect, which is your transportation from the airport to the hotel, not every Good Neighbor gets Mears Connect. So most of them do, but not everyone does. So you might have to Uber, which could be more expensive for you. So when you factor in all of those extra costs, it could be cheaper for you to actually stay on Walt Disney World property.
Don't forget time. Time is money.
Yes.
You're paying to be on your vacation, and you want to have as much vacation time as possible. The amount of time that it's going to take you to get transportation from a Good Neighbor or another hotel might be a big difference for you. It might be an extra 30 minutes each way on your day, and that's a whole extra hour of each day on your vacation that you're spending not vacationing.
Yeah, or let's say you have a car, and we keep saying Ubers and Lyfts, but let's say you have a car. Okay, but you have to pay $25 to park at Walt Disney World parks. If you have a car and you bring it to the Disney hotel, it's free to park there. Might not be free to park at your Good Neighbor hotel. A lot of them do charge for parking. Disney no longer does. It's free to park there, and then it's free to park anywhere you take it around Walt Disney World property. So you can still drive and park at Hollywood Studios and park for free because you're staying at Pop Century.
Yeah. This one's a little bit more complicated. You might have to do a little bit of math to decide what's going to be cheaper and more worth it for you. But like Gina said, in the long run, a lot of times you can find a cheap enough Disney hotel where it'll at least be close, if not cheaper.
Yeah. And again, it could literally be cheaper what it's telling you right online, or after you do all of the math. That hotel off Disney property might offer breakfast, but if you just do some grocery orders, you might get the same quality of breakfast depending on where you're staying. Cool, we're having cereal every morning. We would have cereal every morning there.
Yeah.
And you have it right in your Disney hotel room, and then you're off to the parks and getting there so much quicker.
Yeah. That's a good point, because a lot of times hotel breakfasts aren't that great.
No, they have a waffle maker that's pretty good, but then like those weird like pre-made eggs that freak me out. Like, so at that point, just order bagels from Amazon Fresh to get delivered to your room, and then it's gonna again just come out to the same price. You're fine. Or if you're only paying for 2 people to have breakfast every day, okay, if we budget, that would be about $20 a day. Could that be cheaper than staying at a different hotel?
Yeah.
So just, again, things to keep in mind, math to do, math that your 407 and beyond agent can help you do, but I am a psycho and always do this math to figure out what's worth it. I recommend if you need to save an extra month to make it that you can stay on Walt Disney World property and that it evens out to be cheaper,
do it.
It could be worth it to spend that extra $100 a night, and it's cheaper in the long run. You just have to put that money there up front. Okay, no, actually, while we're talking about breakfast, I asked Rick the other day what his reasoning was that he liked to stay on Disney property. So go ahead, tell the listeners.
I think that when you're on a Disney vacation, whether you're a kid, whether you're an adult, no matter what your age is, there's no better way to start your morning before you head to the parks, before you head out to your resort day, before you head to Disney Springs, whatever, than getting a breakfast platter with Mickey waffles on it. You can't get those at Good Neighbor hotels. You can't get them at hotels. Well, I mean, you can't get them off-property hotels.
Some hotels off-property do have the Mickey waffle maker.
It's not the same,
but it's not every single. Yeah, it's not the same. It's not on that Disney plate.
Yeah, so that was one of my reasons. I know it's like not that big of a deal for a lot of people, but I like getting Mickey waffles before I start my day.
You know what? The fact that I said, "What's your reasoning?" and instinctually you were like, "Oh, Mickey waffles," I feel like it had to be said. You know, like the listeners had to know. It's the little things sometimes, the little bits, and then I'm gonna lead that right into theming.
Yeah.
It's the little things sometimes. Some Walt Disney World resorts and their hotels are in your face Disney in classic spoility fashion. We're gonna use our term we always use. Disney threw up on you. And I love it. And if you have a Disney kid, they're probably going to love it. It is larger than life, giant characters, 3 stories high, looking down at you. Woody sitting there, 3 stories high, looking down at your kid. Like, looking down at you as the adult who's been obsessed with Toy Story since it came out in the 90s. Like, that's so cool. That's amazing. But then there's also the smaller things. When, let's say, you stay somewhere like the boardwalk, which is themed to a boardwalk and the beach, and there's little hidden Mickeys around. And there's Mickey with a surfboard, and there's things like that that are like subtly Disney. That again, you're gonna get excited to see. You're gonna really feel like you're in Disney because the theming is there to make you feel it. And Disney, we've talked before about like maybe some hotels don't really feel like they're Disney.
Yeah.
But you've made a really good point. They're still themed beautifully to what they're supposed to be themed to.
Yeah, and the thing that I appreciate when it comes to the Disney theming of the hotels is there are hotels that if you're not a certified Disney adult and you don't want Disney to throw up on you, there's so many hotels that you can go to where the most you'll see is a picture on the wall in your room as far as what Disney is. Like, there's plenty of resorts, like the Contemporary is a good example. To me, that one just feels like a conference area.
As long as you don't get the Incredibles room.
Yeah.
That's Disney.
The Grand Floridian is just a more elegant hotel. There's obviously going to be the little Disney things in there, but overall it's just a very elegant, nice hotel. Like, there are options for people that don't want the Disney throw up on you. And there's also the really good in-betweens where, in my opinion, the Riviera is a perfect one where if you're a Disney adult and you're going with someone who's not a Disney adult, both of you will love the hotel because there's enough stuff there for the Disney adult to enjoy, but there's also not so much stuff that the non-Disney person is going to get overwhelmed and annoyed.
Yeah, when you're walking through the hallway, the rugs are Mickey. They're hidden Mickeys. But if you weren't looking, you'd never realize. The Disney adult gets to look down and go, oh my gosh, hidden Mickey. And the person who's not a Disney person never realizes.
Yeah.
Coronado Springs is always the one I tell people when they say that they are trying to convince someone to like Disney. It's their first time going. They don't want it so in their face. It's a moderate resort. And when we stayed there, honestly, there really wasn't much Disney at all. We had a silhouette photo of the 3 Caballeros. So it wasn't even like Donald Duck was on our wall. It was his silhouette. Like, there was not too aggressively themed in any way because that one actually is a conference center.
Yeah.
So they have it like, okay, yes, you are at a conference in Disney World, but we're not going to put it in your face because you're here for the conference.
So that's my favorite thing is that there's literally a hotel for everybody.
I agree. For every budget, every style, it's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, one huge perk of all of those hotels that there is a hotel for everybody. You can get upgraded. This is like a magic moment. I'm not telling you this because it's going to happen to you. I'm not telling you this because you should ask for this. You should not ask for this. This is that you'll most likely 99% of the time are not going to get it that way. It's magic moments where you get a call when you're on your way there and they go, "Hey, are you okay if we upgrade you to a different resort?" Usually it's if you have, let's say you booked a preferred room at the All-Stars. They move people around for whatever reason. Someone who was standard probably got upgraded to preferred. You got upgraded to Coronado Springs.
Yeah.
That was an exact story of what happened to me. So it was because we had a preferred room, which was funny because we booked it at the time because that's all that was available. That was just the cheapest room on Disney property we can get. And then we ended up getting upgraded to Coronado Springs because it's right next door to it and they had to move people around for whatever reason. So that's just magic moments that can happen when you're staying on Walt Disney World property. Not only can your room get upgraded to a different view, maybe to being closer to the main building, closer to the buses, you can have upgrades like that happen, but they can also move you around from resort to resort as needed. And you can move yourself around. You can maybe do a split stay and get
Hmm.
a luxurious stay at the Polynesian, which is one of the most expensive resorts on Disney property. But let's say it's been your dream to stay there. Okay, so we just booked 2 nights there for a week trip. The other 5 nights are going to be a Pop Century.
Yeah.
You can do things like that, and Disney will move your bags for you, and you don't have to worry about them. You call them and say, hey, we are moving to this resort. They'll come get your bags and move them, and then you just pick them up when you get there, or they'll bring them to your room when you get there.
Yeah.
We stayed at 3 resorts the last time we were there. We hopped around so much. We were at the All Stars, Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the Riviera, and every single time they picked our bags up and dropped them off at our new room.
Yeah, it was flawless. The only thing was the timing, but I mean, what do you expect? They have to get it from one resort to another, so
that's a risk you take, though.
Yeah.
They tell you. They say, hey, it's going to be between this time and this time,
Yeah.
and it's usually like a 4-hour window.
Yeah, but it's overall a great experience to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Resort hopping in general is fun, but especially when you're getting to actually stay there.
Yeah.
The people who make that magic, the cast members, which was another one of Ric's reasons.
Yeah, I feel like I've never had an experience with a cast member at a Disney hotel where they seemed frustrated, they seemed angry, they seemed like they didn't want to be there. Like, it's always just, it's the experience that you get with cast members in the park where they're all happy and bubbly and ready to see everybody and talk to everybody. You get that exact same experience at the hotel. And I feel like I've had multiple experiences at other hotels, not specific ones around Disney property, whether it be a good neighbor or off property, but I feel like there's more of a chance that you'll run into someone who maybe is going to start their double shift and they don't want to be there anymore. Or they just had a really annoying person come up to them and make their day a million times worse. And they're more likely, I feel like, to show you that frustration and that upset. Whereas, like I said, I've experienced people at Disney hotels where the person in front of me in line was just nasty and not a good person and being very mean to the cast members. And then we're the next ones in line and we get up there and all of a sudden they got a smile on their face again and they're ready to talk to you and just are hopeful that you're a better person.
Yeah, and that's not to say that if you stay off property, you're not going to get that experience as well. He's just saying that from his experience, most of the time, that is what you get at Walt Disney World, which is a huge perk. Yeah, I do think Disney gives their cast members a lot of liberties to make magic and make people happy.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful for their mood as well. Because when you actually do have the ability, when someone comes up and they're like, hey, this got messed up, and they're being nice, and they're like, hey, this got messed up. When you have the ability to fix that for them, that also keeps them from becoming that angry guest, which keeps you happy. So I think that it's a beautiful cycle Disney has going.
It's a good system.
Yes, amazing. So one of my favorite things with staying on property, and this can kind of work if you're staying at a good neighbor hotel, but not to the extent. It is everything you need is all in one place on the My Disney Experience app.
Yeah.
So you can link your good neighbor hotel to the My Disney Experience app, and then that will help you get early entry and extra evening hours, which we'll talk about in a minute. And it will all be there. But when you book a stay at Walt Disney World, let's say you got a ticket and room package, all of that is going to go right onto your account, right into your app. You can open your door with your phone. You can pay for things with the phone, with the Magic Band, whatever you need. It's all going to be on that app right there for you, all in one place. You can link with friends. This is only at Walt Disney World. We had issues with Disneyland. Unfortunately, it doesn't link the same way. You can link the tickets, but like not the individual person, which don't quote me on that. If anyone is more of a Disneyland person, you can please reach out and explain it to me, because I sat there trying to figure it out for hours and then finally gave it away to the 407 agent. So, but you can link it all. You can link with your friends. All of your photos are going to be right in your app. Everything's going to be in your app. And having the hotel right in there as well is just super helpful, in my opinion, and very, very convenient. And again, your Magic Band being able to open your room, all of that, super convenient. It's one less card you have to hold on to.
Yeah, nice. And going along with that, you said about the convenience of a Magic Band. And one of the big perks of staying on Disney property is, unfortunately, they no longer give you the free Magic Band when you book your stay. However, if you are staying on Disney property, you can get a discounted Magic Band at the hotel, which maybe you don't need it, but it is very convenient to not have to pull out your phone every time you need to swipe your card or use your Magic Band. We found it to be really nice when we got our Magic Band Pluses when we were out in Disneyland because it saves you a lot of money and it's nice to have them.
Yeah, when he's saying you can get them like at Disney property, it's not when you're there you don't get a discount. Before your vacation, you'll see on the My Disney Experience app, you can see it online. You can go on and you can order it and they're going to be super discounted, significantly cheaper than if you bought them in the park once you got there. You'll get a discount and you'll already have it. It'll already be linked to your account. It should be. Sometimes it glitches, but it should already be linked to your account. You don't have to do any of the work on that aspect. And you just come, you hop on the plane wearing it. And then you're good to go once you arrive on Walt Disney World property.
Yeah.
All right, and our last one for why we stay on Walt Disney World property.
This is a big one.
This is a big one. There is extra hours. So, first we'll talk every resort. Value, moderate resort, and good neighbor. You're going to get the morning hours. Not every good neighbor, but a good chunk of good neighbors. So if you are hearing all of this and you're still like, nope, Gina, Rick, I'm not convinced, I'm saying good neighbor, check and see if you have those early morning hours. This is going to be every single park opens 30 minutes early for people who are at a qualifying resort.
Yeah.
30 minutes. They'll open one section of the park usually, and it's all you. You get to go crazy. So if you're going to Magic Kingdom, you can go into Fantasyland, you can go into Tomorrowland, and it is just the people who are staying on property. And I always think like, oh, there has to be so many people. But when you actually get there, first of all, not everyone takes advantage of this.
Yeah.
Second of all, you'd be amazed how many people aren't staying on Walt Disney World property who are there. Or maybe they are in a good neighbor and they don't realize that they have that early morning extra time. So 30 minutes you can go in and you can easily bust out 2 to even, I'm going to go real highball and say 5 rides depending on what rides you pick.
Yeah.
You can easily get on them before anyone else gets there. And then it makes it so much easier to enjoy the rest of your day if you can get those ones that are super important to you out of the way.
Yeah, it's really nice for the big rides. Like if you're going to Animal Kingdom, getting on Flight of Passage first thing in the morning, stuff like that. Just like Gina said, beating the lines. That way you can enjoy the rest of your day and just kind of do what you want to do without feeling rushed.
Yeah, like let's say Animal Kingdom opens at 8 a.m. You're in at 7:30. You're in that initial 7:30 group hauling booty to Flight of Passage. By 8 a.m., when the people who aren't staying on Walt Disney World property get there, there's already a line.
Yeah. And you might be off if you're one of the first people that get to the ride.
Yeah, you're already on to Expedition Everest.
Yeah.
So it's a huge perk. Okay, now we're going to hone in on a smaller group. The deluxe resorts at Walt Disney World. And Swan and Dolphin, as well as Shades of Green. These hotels get extra evening hours. These evening hours are only on select nights. It's usually like Mondays and Wednesdays. And they get tossed around between Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. So you have to look and see which ones. That's 2 extra hours is what they offer in the park after it closes for people who are staying in deluxe resorts.
Yeah.
That is huge.
It's a lot of time.
If you are a night person, if you have kids who can make it that late, the extra money to stay at the deluxe resort could totally be worth it for that perk.
Yeah.
That's a huge perk. It really is.
Yeah, if you're a ride person, it's going to clear out immensely. Like that 2.5 hour Flight of Passage line that was there at 9 a.m. because you missed rope drop is now down to 30 minutes because there's so many less people in the park.
Well, in addition to that, there's also no lightning lane going because it's those extra 2 hours. Same thing for in the morning for those 30 minutes. So the line just keeps going. There's no pauses for people to come through. So it makes the lines just go so much quicker.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I also want to talk about lightning lanes. Let's say you bought lightning lane multi-pass. I can't believe we almost forgot this. You can book it 7 days in advance. Purchase and book your thing 7 days in advance, where if you're not staying on Disney property, you can only book 3 days in advance. So you have a huge access, huge, for those big rides. You have first dibs on getting a lightning lane for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, so you can cut the line.
Yep.
Okay, and now the actual last reason why, and then we'll go into the few reasons we have is why you might not want to stay on Disney property, but the last reason that we have for why you would is dining reservations. Just like you get first dibs on those lightning lanes, you also kind of get first dibs on dining reservations. So dining reservations open up 60 days out. Let's say it's March 1st right now, okay? March 1st, 60 days from there is May 1st. I didn't actually do that math, I'm just roughly assuming. Give or take a day or two. Our vacation is starting on May 1st. Woohoo, we're going to Disney World.
Yay.
So, dining reservations open for May 1st on March 1st. Somebody who's not staying on property can book a reservation for May 1st.
Mhm.
That's it. They get that one day.
Yeah.
Now, us, we're staying on property. Our vacation is May 1st until May 9th.
Mhm.
We can book a reservation for every single day if we wanted to of our vacation because we're in that 10-day window.
Yeah.
Technically, you would have from May 1st to May 11th because you can book up until 10 days out if your vacation is that long.
Yeah.
Since our vacation's only till May 9th, we can book up until May 9th.
Mhm.
So those really hard to get reservations, maybe we can try and get them on May 8th.
Yeah, later on in the vacation.
Get it later on where people who aren't staying on Disney property don't have access to that yet.
Mhm.
We have a huge leg up for booking dining reservations, especially those really hard to get reservations. So if you are dead set on your kid getting to eat inside the castle, Cinderella's Royal Table, it's one of the really hard ones to get. You'll have that leg up to get that. So that is a huge perk that could be worth, let's say it's only $20 more to stay at All Stars than it is the Fairfield. That could be so worth it. I'm not attacking the Fairfield, by the way. We've stayed there. It's nice. That's just the one that keeps coming to my brain. But that could be so worth it. So that's the last perk we're going to share with you guys is why we prefer to stay on Walt Disney World property.
Yes.
You got any of the other ones?
No, that pretty much encompasses it all.
Beautiful. Love to see it. All right, here's our very small list of why you might not want to stay on Walt Disney World property.
Yeah, keep in mind, we stay on Disney property pretty much every time we go there, so.
No, because we've done the Wyndham, we've done Fairfield, we've done Spring Hill, we've done the Hilton, and we've done the Delta. 5 different hotels that we've stayed off property.
Are you sure about that?
You weren't at the Delta. It was me and Miranda and Julia.
I still don't remember staying off property 4 times.
Well, when you came to visit me when I lived down there, we would stay off property.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. We don't stay off property nearly as much as
but
we
we've
stay
been
on
a lot
property.
more. We've been a lot more than 4 times. So that's a very small, minute number in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. So we might have missed some things. If you're someone who does like to stay off property and you have other reasons, feel free to reach out to us and let us know what they are. But I don't think we got any at all.
No, every single person that said their reasons and why they prefer to. But let's go into why not to. Here's a really big one. Let's say you have a huge family going. You can get a full house. You can do Airbnb. You can do Vrbo. And you can get an entire place for you guys to stay. There are big rooms at Disney that allow that. Our family of, at that time... 14, including babies.
Yeah, I think it was 14.
Because I think the room technically slept 12, but there was babies in cribs. It just keeps growing. People just keep having babies. I think that's what it was at the time. So we stayed in a 3-bedroom at Old Key West. Now, we rented Disney Vacation Club points, which is a whole nother episode for you guys, as a way to save money and make that a little bit more affordable. Because that 3-bedroom is pretty expensive. It's going to cost you significantly more than most Airbnbs are going to. Unless you were to maybe rent Disney Vacation Club points or get a really good deal from Disney.
Yeah.
So, you can get a full house. Have your entire space for your huge family. Every family can have their own space. There are some really big houses in the Orlando area. So having bigger rooms as well. Hotels in Disney, their rooms are pretty big. Values are pretty small. They get bigger as they go. And there are some pretty big rooms. There's also some pretty small rooms. So maybe for the same price as what one night at the Grand Floridian will cost you, you can get the same size room for a week somewhere else. So if you need bigger rooms, more space, it definitely can be worth it to stay off property.
Yeah. And going back to what we said before, where we said that Disney can be cheaper, it also can potentially be cheaper to be staying off property. If you have rewards points with pretty much any of the big hotels, Marriott, Hilton, I think those are the 2 big ones, Wyndham. If you have rewards points with those where you can get night stays that are essentially free because you already have all these points built up, that's obviously going to be cheaper than staying on Disney property. Again, you're going to be paying for things like transportation and you're not going to have as much stuff included, but your hotel stay is going to be cheaper in those scenarios.
You're not going to have as much Disney stuff included.
Yeah.
You could have the right hotel, you could have breakfast and even dinner included.
Yeah.
So
if you have rewards points, that might make it cheaper to stay off property.
Yeah, or if you're looking for a certain size room, if you're like, I need a suite, we need multiple bedrooms, yeah, it could definitely be cheaper to stay off property.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like Rick said, time is money. But also, the money matters.
But also, money is money.
Money is money. Money talks. If that is what is going to make it that you can go to Disney, don't listen to anything we're saying. You're still going to have the most magical time and a great vacation if you're staying off property. We're just giving you the perks of staying on property, but you can still have a fantastic time if you're off property. And if that's what is in your budget, absolutely do it. I did forget to say something about where we can stay on property. Should I do it now or throw it in at the end?
Throw it in at the end.
Okay. Okay, this is a really big one. Maybe the people you're with just don't love Disney.
Yeah.
Maybe you're really trying to like slowly get them into the Disney bubble and you just don't want them fully surrounded by Disney at all times.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes into the next one we have as well. Maybe you're doing multiple things in Florida or Orlando. Maybe you're going
to SeaWorld. Maybe you're going to Universal Studios. Maybe you're doing just all the other, how do they word it in the monorail when you're at the airport? All the wonderful things that Orlando has to offer or whatever.
Yeah, that was really good. I'm Buddy Dyers. I'm Mayor Buddy Dyers. Maybe you're going to the beach for the day. Maybe you're just hitting up iDrive and riding those giant swings in the sky. Like, whatever you're doing, whatever your vacation consists of, it might not be worth it to stay on Disney property.
If you're only doing like a day or two at Disney, it might not be worth it. You might be better off just staying off property and driving to Disney for those 1 or 2 days.
Or if you're doing 2 days at Disney, 2 days at Universal, okay, maybe it's more worth it to stay at Universal because if you stay at Universal's more expensive resorts, you get the express pass. You get to cut the lines. Okay, cool. We'll stay at Universal then.
Exactly.
So things to keep in mind, like, will I actually be going to Disney enough while I'm there to make it worth it to stay at Disney?
Yeah.
Maybe the only day that you're going to Disney is a Wednesday. So, like, okay, cool. Let's get one night at the deluxe resort so we can have that extra evening hours for 2 hours and really get the most out of our money. Cool. Yeah. Let's do that. Same reason why people might stay at the deluxe resorts or premier resort.
I don't remember.
At Universal, the highest class at Universal to get the pass, you might do it just to get the option of the extra hours.
Yeah. And last but not least, if you have a car, it might be worth it to stay off property because you're now on your own time. Like we said, you do have to park if you're going to the Disney parks. You have to pay to park. But you'll have, if you have kids, you'll have booster seats, car seats, whatever. Like how you like them. You'll have room to put your strollers in your car's trunk, whatever. So it might be more convenient and easier for you if you have a car because then you're doing things at your own pace rather than Disney's pace.
Yeah. But again, just keep in mind, it's free to park at Disney.
Yeah.
So you can take that car and park it at Disney the entire time. Not every good neighbor hotel offers free parking. So that's another thing that you might need to work into your budget that you forgot about.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want my last thing that I forgot?
Let's hear the last thing that was positive for staying on property.
It kind of just like hit me that we didn't say it. When you book with Disney, let's say you book it at rack rate, you just pay whatever price is online, and then the price drops, you can call Disney and they'll give you that price back. Like, they'll give you the refund. So if your price drops by $20 a night, they'll give you that money back. Where not every good neighbor hotel does that. I've actually never heard of another hotel doing that. The only thing I've heard of is if another hotel has free cancellation, you can cancel and rebook. You have to jump through all those hoops. I would rebook first, then cancel personally, but... So that's an option, but Disney, if they put out a deal, which they often do, if they put out a deal, you can get the money back as long as you call to get it.
Yeah. So, like we said, we did reach out to you guys on Instagram to send us your thoughts on whether you like to stay on or off property. As we alluded to earlier, most of them are pretty much the same. So the question was, do you prefer to stay on or off property and why? So we have on property, I need those early entry hours. And I like not having to drive on vacation. That's a big one.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
I hate when I get home from like a week and a half at Disney and I get in my car and I'm like, do I still know how to do this?
The right one's the gas, right?
Like, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore.
This person said Disney takes care of everything, so that's why they like staying on property.
On property, you can't beat being in a Disney bubble and Disney transportation. You're going to hear the term Disney bubble a lot. It's so true. Once you go into that gate, you are sucked into the Disney bubble. I remember when we went for the first time with Brian and Ellie, and Brian left and he goes, I have no idea what's happening in the world. Our friend Brian is constantly aware of what's happening in the world. 100%. He goes, I have no idea what's happening. I did not look at anything all week.
Yeah. Like, obviously Disney has TVs, so if you're one of those people that needs to be kept up with what's going on, you can turn on the news and see what's
Your
going
phone
on.
will still work.
But it's not, for some reason, it just doesn't come up as much. Maybe it's because you're not online as much on your phone. I don't know. But for some reason, every time I leave Disney, I'm like, okay, what did I miss this past week that happened?
Life is good. Nothing matters.
This person said it's so much more convenient and you stay in the Disney bubble on property.
I like this one. I set off until I stayed on. Staying on is so magical and convenient.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a lot of people necessarily, but I feel like I've heard that more frequently than not. That people people that stay off property stay on property for the first time, and they're like, okay, I'm never not staying on property again.
Yeah, I mean, we stay on property, like Rick said, almost every time, but we stayed off property in an Airbnb for that one run. It was my first time doing a Disney run. I didn't think anything of it. It was fine. It got the job done. But then once we stayed on property for a run, I was like, why did we do that?
Yeah.
Why did we do that to ourselves? That was terrible. So, like, same idea. You do it and you're like, oh, I'm never not doing it this way.
This person said on property because it's easier and less time consuming. Time is money.
Actually, they said money.
Money with multiple Y's.
Yes.
And our last one, on property, Disney transportation is 1,000% worth the extra cost.
I like this one too. On property, I want to feel like I'm in the bubble on
The
vacation.
bubble.
They put that in little quotes. The bubble.
If you're ever talking to someone and you don't really know a lot about Disney and they do, just say the bubble and then you'll be fine.
Just be like, I love the Disney bubble.
And then they'll take it away from there and you'll be fine.
And they'll be like, yeah, oh my gosh, totally. It's like, actually, I have an episode planned for us where we're just going to go over all of Disney lingo so that way you can learn it. And Disney bubble is about to get added to the list because it's not currently on the list of words.
Oh, that's got to be on there.
It's got to be on there. The bubble.
The bubble.
The bubble?
The bubble.
But that's all we have. Those are our reasons why we prefer to stay on property and a few reasons why you might not want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, if you have more questions, reach out to 407 and Beyond Vacation Go or reach out to us and we can answer them for you. We can hook you up with an agent if that's what you need. We got you. We will happily tell you about every single resort.
Yeah.
We love. And we do have some episodes already posted and we have more planned for the future of us rating the resorts and ranking them from best to worst. So we have so far done about 4 of them or 5 of them, and we have more planned coming up. So go ahead and check those out. It might help you pick which resort you'd like to stay at.
Yeah. Like we said at the beginning, we hope everybody had a great Christmas and a happy holidays. But that's all we have for you guys for this week. So until next time, we will
See you at the castle.